Welcome to episode 2 of the world's fastest 4200. In episode 1, I showed the engine assembly process and all the components of the engine. Now I'll give you an insider's view of the pieces needed to complete the engine and install it in the car. Keep an eye out for episode 3 when I do the first startup and get the Studebaker ready to make some runs at the drag strip. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell for instant notification, like and share, and leave comments. All those will help grow the channel.
All right, so it's finally the day we get to put the 4200 in the Studebaker. So we had some issues with the pilot spacer. I'd put the motor in as a test fit and found that the spacer on the snout or the pilot of the torque converter wasn't going into the back of the engine block, so it would be a misalignment. So luckily Pro Torque Converter has a screw-on pilot, and they were able to send us a longer one, so that fixes that problem now. So now that we have that problem solved, we'll go ahead and put the pilot on the converter and we'll get ready to install the engine. But first, let me show you some stuff about the engine. So for the ignition triggering system with the Holley Dominator, we're using a Holley Hall effect pickup for the crankshaft, which is on a 3 magnet degree wheel, flying magnet wheel, with an Innovative West harmonic balancer. And we're running a Holley Hall cam sensor, which screws into the cylinder head. I machined a hole into the cylinder head, and that picks up one of the screws that holds the adjustable cam timing on the intake camshaft. For the oiling system, we're running a dry sump oil pump. So all of the fittings that go into the normal oil filter adapter have all been plugged off, and we're running this -12 to 3/4 NPT fitting port into the engine block to feed oil. Here we're reading oil pressure that goes to the dash and to the data logging center, and this is for coolant pressure, so we can monitor how much pressure is in the cooling system. Of course, that's the turbo drain back. The oil pan is a Trailblazer oil pan. It's been cut and a box made for it. And there's the exhaust ports. So I misspoke in the live show last Tuesday. I said the oil pan had 3 pickups. It actually has 4 pickups with a pan welded to the bottom of it. There's the original cam sensor mounting hole, which is plugged off. And there's the cylinder head, ported by Self Racing. And the back of the engine, which the adapter I believe was made by Self Racing. And there's the adapter for the crank hub. And this is where the pilot issue was. The pilot wasn't reaching into the back of that. The torque converter pilot has to mount into the back of the crankshaft to keep everything aligned. And we're using a reactor flex plate, aluminum flex plate. For the exhaust system, this is a custom built stainless exhaust system with what I believe is a Burns 6-in-1 turbo flange. You see we had to make a modification. There was a wastegate port there which wasn't being used, so we blocked it off to smooth out the collector. And there's the inside look at the collector. This is the intake manifold Self Racing had built. 3-bar map sensor, all quick connect couplings on it. Ford style AccuFab throttle body. Get a peek inside the plenum a little bit. And there's the intake runners. The starter we're using, mini starter with Calvin Nelson's starter adapter block. And for coils, we're using the IGN1s. And we have some brackets that were water jetted for us, and we're going to use those. And spark plugs, These are original iridiums, and these are the NGK racing plugs that we're going to use now. There's the part number of the plugs we're going to use, and I believe we're going to start out with a 20 thousandths gap. The injectors just came back from getting cleaned. Those are 160 pound/hour injectors. And this is the rest of the oiling system. So this is a 4-stage dry sump. So you've got 5 stages. You have 4 scavenging, and the rear one is pressure. These 4 stainless lines go to the oil pan. That sucks the oil out of the oil pan, so scavenging. Then it goes through this manifold and then runs a line back to the tank. The tank fills this line, which goes into the bottom of the pressure, and then this fitting goes through the filter and then into the engine block. So basic dry sump 4-stage system. Okay, so we have the engine in the car and all hooked up. So let's go over some of the stuff as it's now installed. Okay, so we have the engine and the frame rails. There's the intake and oiling system down in there. Our oil reservoir tank, filters down there. There's the cooling system. Remote pump pulls from the radiator and runs up into the cylinder head. We have a reservoir tank, and the outlet is in the stock position. We're waiting on an O-ring for that piece. The 88 millimeter turbo, wastegate, exhaust, and all the connections. And with that, the engine installation is complete. Everything is done except for mounting the new coils. We have to make a new wiring harness for the smart coils. But other than that, everything is done and she is racetrack ready. So stay tuned for part 3 when we fire up the car and we do a little dyno session with it. So